Hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of Money Matters. And as you know, I deeply, truly believe that money really does matter. And what I want to address with you this week is one of the number one questions that I get. What would you do if you had to start again, Paul? Assuming that you knew nothing, you didn't have tens of millions of pounds worth of property, what would you do? How would you start again? Because when I was thinking about this, when I was talking to people about this, I was saying, well, blimey, I live in Monaco. So if I was starting again, I'd just ask one of my millionaire mates for a few million quid. But that's not really fair, is it? Most people can't do that. So if I try and enter into the spirit of this and say, well, what would I do if I was going to start again? Well, let's make some assumptions. So I'm going to assume that I've got an average house. Well, the average house in the UK is around about £300,000, and the average person in the UK is obsessed with paying off their mortgage. I don't think they should, but by 58 years old, you've probably got an average house, and because most people in the UK own property, not rent. It's something like 60 or 70% of people own property as opposed to rent property. By your late 50s, it's probably paid off. And for the sake of this example, I'm going to say that you've got £30,000 in savings. You've got some savings, not millions of pounds, but 30k. And now I'm going to ask the question of myself, what would I do if I was starting again with a mortgage-free £300,000 house and £30,000 in savings? Because the other thing that I know most 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds are thinking about is retirement. But you want to be able to retire if you had to because of, I don't know, health reasons or something. It's nice to have that safety blanket, isn't it? So I'm going to position my answer that I want to do something about my retirement as well. And most of my friends I know from back in the day in the UK, they've got some sort of pension scheme. It's not necessarily fantastic, and now they're this close to retirement, they're thinking, blimey, I can't get by on my pension. I need to do something about it. And that would not be an unusual Touchstone Education student. So what would I do? What I would do is I would ask a financial advisor, and I would do some research, and I would find out how much money I could safely take out of my property to use as investment capital. So I would put a mortgage on my property, even if it's paid off, because I would want to use that money to make more money. My definition of wealth is all your assets, so your money, your stocks and shares, your property, take away your liabilities, so your credit card debts, mortgages, anything like that. But from a wealth perspective, you have to exclude your main residence because it's not making you any money. It doesn't earn you any money. You go to sleep, you wake up, okay, you're not paying rent or you're not paying a mortgage, so it's saving you a little bit of money, but it's not making you any money. So the average person in the UK is on £35,000 a year. And if you set the task of saving £50,000, well, you literally can't do it, can you? Because you're only earning 35, you can't save 50. But if you set the task of earning 50, then everyone can do that. So from my £300,000 house, I'm going to say that I'm going to take a 50% loan to value mortgage. And if I'm 58, typically longest I can get a mortgage to is until I'm 75. So from me now until I'm 75, what's that going to be? It's going to be 17 years. So it's not going to be a 25-year mortgage. It's going to be a 17-year mortgage and £150,000. And I'm probably going to have to pay 3%, 4% for that. So if I've got £150,000, 4%, well, 1% of that is 1,500. 4% of that is going to be £6,000. Now, again, not many people know this, but you can get interest-only residential mortgages up to £200,000. So I would make it interest only, and it would cost me about £500 a month. My task now is to use that 150k to go and make more than £150,000 a month. That's 150. That'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? What I meant was £500 a month. So if I can use my £150,000 to make more than £500 a month, that is good use of capital. That is getting a return greater than what it's costing me. What could I do with that? The answer is I could do lots of things. But what I honestly, hand on heart, wouldn't do is rush off and just blast 150k into investment property without a proper education. 40 years ago, when I started in property, 1982 is when I bought my first property, there weren't any books on property investment. There were no courses you could go on. There were no networking meetings you could go to. There were no online forums that you could debate these things. You won the lottery. You live in the information age. You can do tons of research online. You can go join the Touchstone Education YouTube community. You know, if you're just here watching this YouTube for the first time, subscribe, hit the notification bell, make sure you don't miss out, because we do this sort of stuff every week. You can go and join the Touchstone Education community, which is the Facebook group. Free. You can read my book free. So down in the link below, team, can you please put the link to my Wealth-Free Property book? Just hit that link and we'll send it straight to your inbox. So you've got so many more resources. So what I would do in a broad sense is I would plug myself into somewhere to learn about how to invest in property safely. What I think I'd like to do, if I was just thinking from the shoes of one of my friends, is I'd like to do something that would allow me to make money, build a war chest, if you like, so that I could put that money back into my home, because I'm probably really nervous if I'm starting again. So I would use that money to do something called a flip. Now, my good friend Abby, who very much part of the community and really, really amazing lady, if you've never heard of her before, Abby Hookway. She does a YouTube channel this YouTube channel on a Sunday evening called Property Investing with Abby. And you would do very well, if you've not invested in property yet, to watch Property Investing with Abby, because Abby's only been a property investor for 4 years. So she's very much coming at it from the newcomer's perspective. But in the last 4 years, she's built a portfolio of 5.2 million. 5.2 million. And she makes more than £10,000 a month, probably a lot more than that now. So imagine 3-4 years from now, you too had a property portfolio worth 5 million quid, and it was putting £10,000 in your pocket each and every month. You probably wouldn't be that bothered about impending retirement and whatever. But just first things first. So let's assume you've subscribed, you've read some books, you've watched Abby. The first thing I would do is something called a flip. So I would buy a property, do it up and sell it. But I would do it through a limited company. So I'm now assuming that I've learned how to do that, because I wouldn't know that if I was starting from scratch. 94% of landlords in the UK, according to the government, do it as individuals. They don't do it as a limited company. So you would do this for a limited company, and it would be a planned flip. So there'd be no capital gains tax. So I would learn all that. I'd learn how to do it just like you're probably going to learn how to do it. Buy it, do it up and sell it. So I would do that a few times. And where you live, you might say, I can't get it for £50,000. Well, fine, go and buy one for £150,000 because you've got £150,000, haven't you? And then use your £20,000 or £30,000 that you've got in savings, in my example, to do it up. So I've bought a property for 150, I've done it up, and it's going to be worth, I don't know, you really want to make a minimum of £50,000 on a flip. That sort of size, you probably want to make in £60,000 or £70,000. So if you just did 2 flip, or maybe 3, you've probably earned back your entire £150,000. Let's keep it simple. Let's say you made 50. Let's say you did that 3 times. And let's say you did one every 6 months. 18 months from now, you could have bought, refurbished and sold 3 properties. Anyone could do that. You've made £150,000 profit. You start with 150, you've now got 300. Just to keep you sleeping safe at night and not freaking you out, what you're going to do now is you can take the 150 you started with and you're going to repay your mortgage, and you haven't got a mortgage anymore. But what you've now got is £150,000. And if you just do that twice a year, buy, refurbish, sell, twice a year, that is going to make you £100,000 profit per year. So would you be okay with making £100,000 a year, having repaid all your money on the mortgage, essentially you're now only playing in the property game. You're now only playing sort of grown-up Monopoly with money that wasn't yours. So you've made 150k in profit. Now there's lots of other ways you could do it, and I would learn about tax efficiency, and I'd learn how to minimise my taxes, and I'd learn about service accommodation, and I'd learn about commercial property because I want to put that in my pension. But what I'd want to prove to myself by my 60th birthday is that I've made 150 grand. Just put some comments below, in the chat about how would you feel if you started today at the age of 58 or whatever age you are, and you did 3 flips over the next 2 years. By the time you were 60, you'd made an extra 150,000, and more importantly, you've proven to yourself you've now got a technique where you can make £100,000 a year. And then what I'd do after that is I would start probably flipping one, keeping one, flip one, keep one, flip one, keep one. So each year I'd make maybe £50,000 of capital profit from selling it, and I'd build up my property portfolio and I'd start getting rental income as well. So I don't know what you would do. And I'm trying my best to be sensible and, not phoning one of my mates here saying, can I have a few million because I want to go and buy a shopping centre or something. And I'm just putting myself back 40 years, but not, if you know what I mean. Because there's some massive differences now. The whole internet, the smartphones, the education, the online, all of that stuff. And I just want to finish with a final thought. I'm half English, half Irish. My English granddad always used to say to me, you've won the lottery. What are you on about, granddad? When I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I didn't know what lottery was. But anyway, when I get into my teenage years, I understood what he was saying, because he spent the entire Second World War in Asia Pacific, essentially either running away from or running after the Japanese. And he saw some nasty things. And it changed him forever. When he went, he had jet black hair. When he came back, it was pure white. and he was only in his early 30s. I used to talk to him a lot, but he never really opened up to me about all the horrible things that he saw. And here's the news. Those horrible things are still happening now. And what my granddad was really saying was, you live and work and invest in the UK. You might be from abroad, you're investing in the UK. It's a stable country, hasn't been invaded for 1,000 years. It's got a massively powerful military. Nobody, nearly used a rude word, messes about with the UK for obvious reasons. You can trust the legal system, you can trust the accountants, and property prices keep going up. Imagine you wanted to take 150k and turn it into £100,000 a year, which is what I've just said how to do. You literally couldn't do that in Russia, China, most of Latin America, almost all of Africa. You are in a very privileged position. You've won life's lottery. So don't give yourself any bullshit excuses about why you can't do it. There's only one reason why you can't do it. It's you. If you've decided that you are going to do this, then just cut the nonsense, cut the fluff, ignore what everybody else says and do it. But don't come moaning and whining and telling me it's all too difficult. There's all the education that you need. There's all support that you need. There's all the help. There's all the positivity in the various Touchstone communities that you need. There'll only be one person stopping you, and it'll be the person that looks back at you in the bathroom mirror every morning. Now, if that sounds hard, I don't apologise. We've got year-long programs with all the education, coaching, an hour a day, all the different property strategies. So if you want to know how to do it, we can help. If you want accountability because you're worried that you can't do it on your own, we can help. What is it you need? I don't know what you need. Tell me what you need in the comments below. And yes, our programs range between £3,000 and £15,000. And I think that is ridiculously good value. Where else can you go and spend, for example, £10,000 to learn with absolute certainty and have your hand held every step of the way to make £100,000 a year? £100,000 a year. Anyway, with that slightly bossy Paul telling you what to do at the end, my name's Paul Smith, Touch Education. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. You are all wonderful, inspirational people. Let your light shine, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.